Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about I wasn't giving her enough attention. You know, making emotional connections last takes effort. You have to understand that people want to feel seen, they want to feel heard, they want to feel understood and cared about. And a lot of times when people are dating for a while, they take that for granted. They don't pay attention to their partner's needs. They ignore them, they neglect them, and slowly the connection gets weaker to the point where they can't take it anymore.
Mm-hmm. A relationship, it's like a living thing. It needs that nurture, it needs that attention.
Many of us grow up in homes where we don't see healthy relationships with our parents. It's dysfunctional. There's arguing, there's fighting, mental health issues, whatever may be going on there. And so we don't learn the skills to be a better partner. And it does take skill and effort to make a relationship last.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I could see how back in the day, relationships, marriage might have been a little bit more transactional, thinking about survival. Nowadays, things have changed. We have made a lot of advances in the field of therapy, of marriage counseling. And so that connection emotionally is very important in, fulfilling our emotional needs.
So we at the channel are really big on teaching you guys not just how to get an ex back, but how to have the skills to have a healthy relationship. Because if you don't work on those things and really improve in those areas, they'll come back and it'll just lead to another breakup. And it happens all the time, sadly. So when you're in no contact, you really want to make your focus personal growth. It has to be your top priority. Process the breakup, talk about it, deal with it, figure out what went wrong and how to turn it around.
Yeah.
Today, I've got an email coaching that somebody wanted to share their situation, and I thought it was a good one. So let's go ahead and get into this one. They said, hi, Craig and Victoria. They didn't say hi, team.
Oh.
You've actually made, your name is on this one.
Woohoo!
We've been getting a lot of high teams lately. First and foremost, my deep condolences for the loss of Margaret. What a lovely human being and an absolute fountain of wisdom she was. She knew how to calm you down and advise by using her knowledge and, at the right time, humor. Was so sad when I heard of her passing. Yeah, and we still miss her deeply. She was amazing and very funny.
Yeah.
And a lot more funny than you would think.
Yeah.
Right?
We learned a lot from her.
Yeah. So we miss her too. I'd also like to say I've been watching your videos for 6 years, and I can't tell you how much they have helped me and get me through some tough times. Thank you. I was wondering if you would consider doing a video on multiple breakups and no contact with the same person. So first of all, we have done that.
Yeah. I think
We've got to have at least several on that. And it often does come up in our email coachings.
That as well, yeah.
Right? But what you have to do is when you're on our channel, on the page, there's a search bar on the right-hand side. A lot of people don't know about that. And you type in what you're looking for and our videos will come up.
And I know we have several videos on again, off again relationships, so that might fit into that category too.
Absolutely. He says, I got together with my ex around 7.5 years ago, and in that time, we have had 2 or 3 serious breakups, her dumping me, where I went no contact, and we ended up back together. Now, that's interesting. He says 2 or 3. He's not sure.
One of them might have not been so serious.
Yeah. 2 was serious, 1 not so serious.
Yeah.
Maybe it was serious. She has done a few things over the first few years that are questionable. The first time we broke up, she went off with a married man.
Oh.
She also used to go missing overnight now and again and just claimed she was drunk and had left her phone at the bar.
Missing overnight. Now, I know that she's an adult, but for her to go to an unexplained place, it sounds like while they were living together is, I think, the subtext there. But I could see that being quite concerning.
It's definitely suspicious, right? And she went off with a married man. I'm assuming she had some kind of affair with him or something.
That's what it sounds like.
She also told me she thought another guy from the gym that we go to was hot and then spent a social evening flirting with him.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe that's one of the serious breakups.
But interestingly enough, it sounded like she had broken up with him.
I don't know. Was that the breakup there? I don't know. Well, yes, she did break up with him in the breakups, but I don't know if this is necessarily a breakup. But definitely, like, nobody's going to feel good about that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I do feel that she pokes at me when she is drunk, too. And when I react, usually by going home, I get asked what my problem was. It feels like gaslighting. It sure does. She's doing something to upset him.
Yeah, to provoke you.
And she's like, what's your problem? I don't know. You were hanging on that guy all night? Yeah. I'd have the doors locked. Someone did that to me. Click. Find a new home.
All right.
The last couple of years, she has settled down a lot and actually has seemed to behave better.
Okay.
The problem is, I haven't given her enough attention. We haven't been intimate enough for her, and she said she feels disconnected and that she feels like she doesn't exist to me as my girlfriend. What do you think about that?
That statement of she doesn't exist to him as his girlfriend is quite concerning. Like we were saying in the beginning of this video, it does take time and attention to really invest in a relationship. And of course, there's going to be natural ebbs and flows in a relationship, but it sounds like she's taking that moment to bring it up to him. And I would much rather have a situation like this where she brings it to his attention rather than her just, suppressing it and living like that and dealing with it and not bringing it up. So props to her for bringing it up. But, it does make me question, okay, where do we go next? What can we do to increase that feeling of connection for both of them, probably?
I have a feeling that he was resentful about the breakups and how she had behaved earlier in the relationship. And so he kind of had one foot in, one foot out a lot of that time.
Yeah.
Just feeling like, I don't know if I want to be with her after what she did.
And I think that's valid. I think a lot of people think of intimacy issues in relationships like, oh, you just got to spice it up. Just add like a hot pink boa and a blindfold. Just throw that into the mix and then everything will be okay. But a lot of people fail to realize that a lot of intimacy issues happen because of resentment, happen because of emotional issues. It's not that these people aren't feeling excited enough in their lives. It's usually something to do with the connection of feeling safe with each other, of being able to be creative and open and comfortable with each other to that level. Sometimes there's, blockages happening there, emotional blockages.
My feeling is that he probably had that building up inside of him and he didn't do enough to work through it and process it. And so when they got back together, he was never really fully in it after that.
And I also wonder if prior, because of her kind of chaotic behavior, that might have brought this kind of chaotic, separation, then magical coming back together, which might have felt like a lot of excitement. And then when she had quote unquote settled down, it might have made things in the relationship a little bit more predictable, which isn't a bad thing. I don't suggest they go back to chaos, but just to account for, some of the mundane nature that they're talking about.
She spoke to me about this, and not long after, she broke up with me, about 6 weeks ago. I accept my part in this. Your videos have helped me recognize this, and I'm working on myself. I feel like I want to really work on my issues and the relationship, but I would also like her to understand why the early years of the relationship have possibly affected me. See, there you go. There, he's saying it. He was upset about how she acted earlier. And so he's still hurt and angry. Okay, he goes on to say now that he's in his early 40s and she's in her mid 30s, and that he feels like it's an important age for them. If we have been through a couple of breakups before, is she likely now to think that we've tried enough and it's time to move on? I'm going to paste the text she sent me below. For context, I had told her that I feel conversations had been all about me and what I'm doing wrong, and never addressing historic incidents or things that she does. Okay, so my guess is that he's had a long time to bring those things up, but he kept it to himself.
Yeah.
And now because she's ending it, Now it's, of course, not going to be about what, she did wrong,
Yeah.
because she's already like, I'm done, I'm out. So now it's all about what he did wrong.
Right. And I wonder if because she had been the one to call the breakups prior, maybe that kept him from bringing up some of his concerns, because he probably was thinking, well, I don't want to stir the boat. I don't want this to lead me bringing up things from the past to lead to another breakup. But you could see how this all snowballed into the situation that he's in now.
So here is the text that she sent him. We've not managed to make any substantial progress in all this time, but it's not all one way in the way that you mean. You just don't have as much of an input as me. I'm clearly not happy, and you mustn't be either. I love you, and I wanted it to work, but we both have to accept that it's not going to. Every time this happens, I'm always the one that runs back to you because I'm not strong enough to accept that I'm not good enough for you. But please just move on and find someone new, and just don't let me run back to you again. It's going to be hard, but we both deserve to be happy and accept we're not compatible, and we clearly won't ever be. I don't want either of us to waste another 7 years of being unhappy. And then he goes on to say, thank you, Craig and Victoria. You're both brilliant people.
Oh, brilliant. I'll take it.
Okay, so what I suspected, I think, is really happening here. Because of her earlier behavior, he was hurt, he was angry, he didn't trust her, he was resentful, and he never really processed it with her, talked about it enough. And in the back of his mind, he probably was holding a grudge, never getting too close with her, and they just got caught up in that status quo. And she probably felt like she was never good enough after her mistakes, that, he didn't truly love her, and that, she just didn't think that she was good enough.
Yeah, what I'm getting from her message is she's really feeling that sense of rejection from him, probably because he's feeling that resentment.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it's so much that he doesn't want this relationship or doesn't want to be with her, but it sounds like there's probably some things that they haven't worked through together about his emotions that he feels like he needs to bring up, or are coming out in wacky ways because he's not being very direct about them. And so it sounds like she's interpreting it and taking that very personally and saying those things like, I'm not good enough for you, because in her mind she's probably thinking, well, I need to show up in a certain way for him to really invest, for him to really care. If I was somebody different, then he would really, invest and show up. So I can see that being a struggle for her too. And her saying, I don't want to spend another 7 years unhappy. We talk about this all the time, how your mood in the moment tends to color how you see the past, present, and future. And that's the language that she's using here in this message. Do I really think that for 7 years she had been unhappy the entire time and it was just this like miserable, horrible prison of a relationship? No, I don't think that. I think what she's going through now, what she's feeling emotionally, is leading her to say these things. I do think there's, more conversations that need to be had between the two of them. But once she's made a decision to end it, that's something that he has to respect at this point.
Look, I can see both sides of this. I think that her behavior was really unacceptable at the beginning of this relationship. It caused him a lot of hurt, maybe embarrassment, and he didn't trust her. But they never really worked through that the rest of the years that they were together. He needed to lay those cards out on the table and say, your behavior has made me feel like I can't trust you. I feel like, I'm embarrassed by some of the things that you did, and I'm afraid you're going to do them again. I'm speaking off the top of my head. Obviously, I would process a lot more. But those are some of the things that I feel like needed to be said in a more polished way. Right? But because they were not said, they both were kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So I wouldn't say they were really unhappy, but I think both of them were kind of feeling like, I don't know if we should keep doing this for a long time.
Yeah. And I also wonder how some of the stuff that happened early on might have affected his self-esteem and his confidence, which, might have just been the stepping stones to where they are now.
Yeah.
Because I imagine for him, watching his girlfriend, flirting with another man, being with a married man after, they separate, all of these things are could be digs to your self-esteem. So, you can see that being reflected back in her in this last message of her not feeling good enough for you now.
Well, and now that she's ended it, she's not really interested so much in talking about what she did wrong. And now he's like, but all these years it's bothered me that you've done these things, and now I want to let you have it. I want you to know why I was the way that I was. When he really had a lot of opportunities to say that all along the way. But he didn't process it. He didn't deal with it, and they didn't work through that. And that's why I think the relationship has kind of limped along all these years. When it could have been better to either, deal with it and let it go, or deal with it and get it fixed.
Yeah. And I think there's this misconception about dealing with certain issues in relationships. Yes, there are things that happen that are your responsibility to manage your anxiety, to self-soothe, to heal through. But it sounds like him suppressing it was his idea of working through things. If I just don't bring it up, then this issue will go away. And there's this idea of, if I bring up this issue that's bothering me, it's going to make me seem weak or insecure, or could lead the other person to leaving me or push them away. It's insecure to not bring those things up.
Yeah.
If there's something that's bothering you, that's poking at you, you have to learn how to communicate those in a way that's effective, right? We don't want to be blaming our partner still, so many years later, and say the downfall of this relationship is your fault. But to say, hey, I know it's been a long time since this. I know your behavior has changed dramatically since the past. We have, learned to grow a lot more trust. These are still some things that I think about. I'm not blaming you. You didn't do anything wrong at this point. I'm very much still in this, but I want to be open and honest with you because I want to work through these feelings and I want to feel more connected to you.
Yeah, I think the part of the issue is he really hasn't worked on himself enough to deal with these things. Otherwise, they would have been dealt with a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't think he was doing the course or the workbooks, and probably he was just kind of watching no contact videos when he was going through the hard times, and then he would get her back and go back to the old ways, and then not really ever really got to a great place where they were able to communicate with the challenging things that they needed to.
And it takes two as well. I think in an ideal world, not that we live in one, but in a perfect world, she might have said, hey, I noticed that you're distanced. I want to open some space to talk about what's really going on. And
Agreed.
It sounded like she just kind of jumped to taking it really personal. Just that statement of, I'm not good enough for you. That's a very powerful statement.
Yeah.
So I could see that she's kind of jumped to that, which it's hard not to. All of our deep personal wounds are triggered in relationships, and you can see that here.
I think it'd be great for him to get on the course and really process everything in case she comes back and wants to fix this. He's in a much better place and has a lot more tools to work through things with her.
Oh, yeah. And to answer his question, they had broken up and gotten back together again in the past. There's no reason for me to think that that couldn't happen again another time, especially now that they're, more mature. I know it can feel like, but we've broken up and gotten back together so many times over, so many years. But, the both of you could be in a more mature place. And I'm a hopeful person. I know she is kind of talking with language of like, don't let me come back, because it's almost like I might.
Yeah, and I want to point that out, that this is another example that showed no contact worked, because she said, I came back to you each time. So they had 2 or 3 breakups, probably 3, and she went back to him when he went no contact. Yeah. But he didn't do enough work to process all those challenges, with her difficult behavior and the stuff so when she came back, it wasn't really great when they got back together. It was kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah. Seems like part of the challenge here is also working on repair. When you do come back together after these breakups, is it coming back and still holding on to a little bit of a grudge? Is it coming back and being able to have honest conversations about how the breakup itself affected you? I find that there's probably a way to make this preventable for, a 4th or 5th time here. We got to work on those skills and, talk about what those things might be.
Yeah. If he doesn't do the work and she comes back, it's not going to last long again. She'll feel it. She's going to be able to tell. All right. Hopefully this one was helpful for you. If you want to get our help personally, you could do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Zoom calls. Coach Victoria is also available for Zoom calls.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name at the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth,
And I'm Coach Victoria.
and we will talk with you soon.